Good evening, all, and welcome. I'll tell you what, just now, I got on here, and all of a sudden, I had two dogs playing, and I thought, so you got Emily right in their rocking chair, and you got two dogs barking and it's like World War III in our house at the moment.
You never know what you're gonna get with me, Steve.
Oh no, you don't, but we love you anyway.
Oh, good.
Anyway, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I had a busy couple days, and so it's nice to sit for a minute and think about and be in the moment and think about being in the moment. So I'm looking
Well,
forward to
said
this.
about said about being in the moment. One of my guests, who is a counsellor here in the UK, I said to her the other day, like, what we going to talk about? And she says, Steve, I know you've got a guest on who does it already, but can we talk about being in the moment? I said, well, at least I don't have to write the notes up because I've got them already.
Yeah, how was that? Did you do
Yeah,
that?
it was all right. It was all
Oh,
right.
good.
But yeah, it's really good.
Good.
But
That's great.
um, so anyway, so what we doing tonight then? What you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, so we are in the sixth layer of the be the moment process.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about this one. And it's actually kind of funny because, like Steve said, my dogs were playing before we started the show tonight, and that's actually the sixth layer is be playful. And I didn't even think about it actually until they were playing. Just the whole idea of being playful and how that came to me through my process. Just to give you a quick review about, uh, and you might hear them actually playing again.
It's okay.
um, and actually, yeah, it's actually perfect because, like I was saying earlier, it's all about being in the moment, whatever's happening now, and like rolling with it. So about 5 years ago, I worked myself into complete exhaustion, to the point where I really couldn't get out of bed for about 6 months. I was just so exhausted in every way. And that started me on this really interesting journey of getting psychological tests, getting different mental health diagnoses, going to doctors and getting different, understanding what was going on with my body, um, and my emotions and all these different types of things. So I really started to look at what had caused this and how can I make sure that this doesn't happen again. And so much of that time, so I was really in bed for about 6 months, and then after that it was several years of learning, about the things, about myself, about how did I get to this place. And then accidentally I found in that space, I found the present moment. And that was where I found relief initially from my generalized anxiety disorder, and where I found relief from my OCD of persistent negative thoughts, where I found relief from my perfectionism. So just those three things, and there were other things as well, but just those three things, really taxed my body so much and my mind so much and my emotions so much that my body just shut down. And so the present moment, finding a space of just sitting and being, because I was so tired, I couldn't really do anything else. And now that I look back, I see that it was perfect, that the universe had been, God, source, the whatever you want to call it. I call it the universe very often. Love, with a capital L. So this, the source of the universe, um, orchestrated it in such a way that I found myself in this place where I could learn and find relief and then learn. And so it was amazing and beautiful, and I wouldn't change anything about it now, but at the time when it was happening, it was pretty scary, and I was pretty confused. um, and so when I was sitting in this space, I started to notice that I was feeling a little bit of a break from my anxiety. I was feeling a little bit of a reprieve. I was feeling a little bit of relief. And then I started to just take these nice deep breaths. And that was feeling good. And since then, I've learned that actually conscious breathing actually does have physical effects on your body, which I didn't know at the time. But now that I've researched it, I understand why. Because as these things were happening, I started to be like curious, like, is this just me? Is this a thing? And so that was the first layer, was be the breath, and then be the body, and then be nature, be the observer, be movement is what we did last week, and then this week is be playful. And the interesting piece about be playful for me was it came after a while. So it came after a few months of me exploring the present moment and being like really curious, like, what does it feel like when I just notice my breath? What does it feel like when I just notice what I'm hearing? If I close my eyes, what does it feel like, if I just notice what I can touch physically, like the arms of my rocking chair that Steve likes to tease me about. Yes, I know. I got my rocking chair. And so I started to, then I moved into be movement, which there was a whole story about that I shared last week, about how I actually, my whole life had been a dancer and had done like led group fitness classes, and then my body shut down during the 6 months. My back hurt, my hips wouldn't work, like just everything you could think of kind of just got taken away. And so then I moved into the space of exploring movement again, just very, very gently moving and like being really kind to myself and super, super gentle, like really subtle movements, even just like inhaling and exhaling, like rolling my shoulders, like really small movements. But that even got like energy flowing and made helped me to feel better. And so then I moved into the space of wondering and thinking about my life and thinking back to times when maybe I had been accidentally in present moment in the past.
Mhm.
And what I realized were there were two distinct things. One was movement when I was dancing. So when I was dancing, I was fully in the moment. And the thing about that is, um, when you're really enjoying something, um, you don't know that you're in the movement, then you're in the moment. It just happens, like you just are, you just are in that space, and you're not thinking about it consciously. You just are ever present to what is currently happening for you. And so that was one of the things that I noticed, was that when I was dancing, um, or really moving my body in some way, like runners often feel this way, or people, that are in different sports, different activities, you get caught up and you don't even notice, you don't, time isn't a thing, and you're not noticing any of that, so you get caught up in this moment. And the other thing that I remembered or recalled as I was looking back on my life, when I was asking when have I been in the moment, was when I was being playful, when I was a child. And the thing that I remembered particularly, which was really interesting, so for me, being playful and being a child were kind of the same thing, was I remembered when I don't even know how old I was and when I started doing this, but maybe I was 6 years old, maybe I was 8, 10, I don't even know. And I actually did it well into my teens. I would find myself lying on the carpet in the sunshine. So the sun would be coming in the window, and there would be a patch of carpet that had the sunshine on it, and I would just go sit in it, or I would go lay down. And it wasn't even really a thought. I didn't think, oh, I'm going to go lay in the sunshine right now or anything. I just did it. And it reminded me of, like when you're looking at, especially like cats and dogs, they like to sit in the sunshine.
Yeah.
It just feels really good. And so I remembered that I did that, and I'd forgotten that I did that. And I thought that was really interesting. And I was really trying to put myself back in that space, remembering like what did it really feel like to sit in the sun, and what was I thinking at the time. And the thing that was so interesting to me is that I wasn't really thinking. I couldn't remember that I was actually really thinking, and I wasn't thinking, okay, I got to go do this now. I'm going to get out of the sunshine now. I just was there, and time was just passing, and I was just like, like a child. And so for me, this layer is about that. It's about seeing if I can put myself back in that space. Another good example for me would be, I loved swimming when I was a kid, and I've talked about that before a little bit, like how I would annoy my mom so much, like, Mom, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, the whole time we were at the pool, and probably drove her crazy. That was another time when I just completely lost track of time, and I was just diving in the water and swimming and doing all the somersaults and all the things, diving off the diving board and playing the pool games, and um, no awareness of time passing. And so I really started to see if I could put myself back in that space by just remembering how it felt, and remember being caught up in the moment so much that you didn't notice time was passing, and just being really playful. And so that was actually one of the things that I do in this process, is I guide people into that space. And I've actually had a few people that didn't have wonderful childhoods, or even a childhood where they could remember that they had been in that space of playfulness. So not everybody has experienced this even as a child. Depends on your personal experience. So then you can also, I guided people through, how I felt when I was sitting in the sunshine, what that felt like, and seeing if they could imagine and visualize being in that space. Or even now, what is something as an adult that where you feel like sometimes you get caught up. And for a lot of people, that thing can be also something creative. So maybe you get caught up when you're writing, or when you're painting, or when you're singing. So a lot of times you get caught up into that. So that's this whole layer, is being playful, being a child, being creative. The whole idea is this idea of play, where you kind of forget yourself for a moment. You your ego kind of takes a break. You don't really care what anyone thinks. And that's actually such a beautiful gift of childhood, is that there is a time, for most of us when we're a child, where we really don't, not it's not that we don't care what people think. We don't even know that we're supposed to care about what people think. We just are who we are, and it's very freeing. And so I just try to evoke that space for myself and for other people. So I really love this particular layer, because I find that very often for us as adults, we don't give ourselves permission to play. We don't give ourselves permission to be like, I don't care what anyone thinks, and be silly. And I actually am pretty good at being silly. You probably figured that out. But but I mean, my kids have always been like, Mom, you're so weird. So I've kind of have a knack for this anyways, because I kind of sometimes definitely I care about what people think. My dogs are playing now. I love it. So sometimes I care what people think, but also, you know what? It's kind of nice to be like, I don't really care, because that takes a lot of our energy. Really, is worrying about what other people think. So my
I don't care what other people think. The
Oh,
trouble
that's
is,
awesome.
the trouble is, people say to me, they say, "Oh, you're right, Joker Steve. I could be here right now with my wife, right?
Yeah.
and I could be making strange noises like what the dogs are doing now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, or a wind up Alexa.
I love it.
Mrs. So I don't. I'm not. Sometimes I'm a bit kind of like, in my terms, bombed out. I say bombed out. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean about being bombed out?
Not really. Like bummed?
Mentally unstable, probably.
Oh, okay. Like,
I'm not.
yeah.
I'm usually kind of like on another planet. My wife says, I am. Well, I'm just joking around, messing about. I don't care. I make funny noises, or I tell jokes quite. I don't know if you've seen my Facebook lately, but I put a lot
No.
of jokes on my Facebook and make everybody laugh, and so
That's
that's
so good.
yeah. So I do let myself go, but the trouble is, it's all these when you say, since I've kind of like known you, and I keep saying this every time I see you, but I always learn something new, and I take it and I use it. I said to my wife the other day when we were out, I said, right, I've got to be in a moment now, and I'm there going, putting together, and my wife thinking, oh well, okay, I've got to carry on. I can't be with him at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but no, but it's. I think we all need time out, and sometimes we do need to go back to our childhood, or and think, well, have some time out for ourselves, and be playful and kind of be kind of like go crazy or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I remember going to. I remember when I had my first, when I had my daughter, and my daughter used to say to me, "Dad, take me to the park." I go, "Yeah, okay then, let's go to the park." And I guarantee you, I'll be on the slide first before she got on there.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know what I
I
mean?
love
And I
it.
used to go down the slide, and it was so funny, or climb the climbing frame, or go through the tunnel and everything. You know, it's it's life, and but you have to be playful. You have to be, you just got to let go instead of being, because a lot of people think that because we're grown up adults and everything, that we've got to be kind of like um act as an adult.
Right. Be
Uh,
like responsible all the time
yeah,
and be
yeah, but
serious all the time.
serious? No, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I can't be serious. I'm a joker, me.
Yeah.
You know, I, I would do anything for a laugh. But the trouble is, though, I know you got to come to a certain point and think, okay, enough is enough. But I think with me, sometimes I go over that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and you can still be responsible and serious sometimes and all that type of thing. But for me, I really needed to something that I tell myself is don't take yourself so seriously. And so it just not and that allowed me to sort of soften the judgment on myself, which I know we talk a lot about the whole idea that that there's nothing wrong with me, that I'm not broken, that really the harshest critic of me was me, and to just soften that and to approach it more playfully and more like a child. And I actually have a really funny story that this is where I started the whole thing of saying not to take myself too seriously. But I'm gonna show you all my dogs right now. They're playing. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Now they're gonna stop playing, of course. There they are. That's Einstein and Thoreau. Yeah, you guys are good boys, aren't you? Yeah, you are. Okay, I'll be with you in a second.
What are they? Are they fusions or something? Aren't they?
Yeah, they're called Bolognese.
All right.
It's a rare Italian breed. Like wait, it's not even recognized in the United States as like an official breed, but they're my buddies. They're my buddies. I actually it was interesting because the story with my dogs is I got them in the midst of when I was having my breakdown. So it was at the beginning before I got really, really tired and I wasn't able to get out of bed. I actually felt really like I'd been wanting one dog. We already had a dog and I wanted a puppy for like a couple of years. And I'd been looking at different breeds and like researching it. And I never really did it because we were busy, all these different things. And then finally, I found this breed. My friend told me about this particular breed, Bolognese, and I researched it and I was like, oh, yeah, this sounds like a really, really good breed for me. Come here, buddy. You want to come say hi? Yeah, we're being playful today, so I guess we're gonna say hi today. This is Thoreau. I named him after Henry David Thoreau. He
All right.
the one who wrote on Walden Pond.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. And so I ended up finding out about these dogs, finding out that this woman was having a couple litters, and the timing of it was really interesting. So I got these two dogs, and then I had my breakdown, and I got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, all these different things. And then my husband was researching about anxiety, and one of the things he came across was that one of the best things that you can do with anxiety is to have an animal, um, which was so interesting because I did it naturally. Just like I did with accidentally finding the present moment, I accidentally found these dogs, and I've had them now. They're over 5 years old, and they've been on this journey with me. And so I strongly encourage people that are having mental health issues. One of the best things you could do for anxiety and stress and all that is to have an animal. That really, really helps just with your mental health. So that was a huge piece for me. But my funny story was about not taking myself too seriously. So I still think this is really funny, but I don't know if you will. You'll have to tell me. So I, before I had my breakdown, was actually helping with women's retreats, and we would go away for a weekend, and we would do meditation, and we would do yoga, and I would lead these things. And that's why I say that I was flirting with mindfulness. I was aware that it was a good thing and that it was probably helpful, but I didn't have a personal relationship with mindfulness. It wasn't a part of my life. But I would go away to these women's retreats, and I would help with meditations. I would help with yoga and movement and all these different things. And so I was going to pick up my friend. She and I led these retreats, and I was going to pick her up. We were going to drive to this retreat center, and I was so pleased with myself. I have to say, I had gotten ready the night before. I had all my stuff ready. I left early. Like, I even had time to like call her up and say, "Hey, I'm going to go pick up a coffee. Do you want a coffee?" So I was feeling like I was in control. I was so spiritual. I knew what was going on. I was just thinking I was all that. I don't know if you say this in the UK, but I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. I just
Right.
thought I was like the cat's meow. And so I go get her coffee, and I get to her house, and she's still getting ready because I was like ready early. And so I walk in, I have like my coffee and her coffee. You can already probably figure out what's going to happen. I had my coffee and her coffee on top of my coffee. I was holding it, and I was opening the door to go into her house, and both of the coffees spill all over her like brand new rugs that are on the floor in front of her door. She has like these two really pretty rugs, and they got soaked with coffee. And I just stood there thinking I was all great, and then I just made a big mess. And I thought, you are taking yourself way too seriously. And I actually was laughing because I was like, that's really embarrassing. I mean, I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, she was fine. She didn't get mad at me or anything, but I was just so humbled, so embarrassed. And it was actually really good because I went to the retreat being like really aware of my humanness and like like I'm nothing special, but not like in a bad way where it was like, oh, Emily, you always making mistakes, you're nothing special, but just more like I'm just like everybody else. We're just all trying to do our best to live this life and do the best that we can. And so I went down a couple rungs in my idea of how important that I was. And so I always think about that story, and I always think, don't take yourself too seriously.
No,
And so I just
don't,
laugh
no.
at myself a lot now.
I think that's funny. It's I think when we always get our kind of like funny stories, don't we? We always have our funny stories.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk you through my see, the thing about it, Steve, is that it's actually puppy. I'm not gonna say it out loud, but I'm gonna say puppy FOOD time.
All right.
But they're gonna think that they're gonna get it right now, but they're not.
Are they following you? Are they?
Yeah, I'm gonna put them in the crate. Okay, guys, go in your crate. We are just in the moment today. I call this my magic puppy box. I'll have to show you. Okay, go in your crate. There you go. There you go. So this is their magic puppy box. Yep, we'll be out in a second. Mama, I'll be with you in a sec. There they are.
So you put them in there then, do you? Oh, they're cute.
They love it in there. They're actually, their breed is a burrowing breed, so they like to like be in small spaces, and so they don't mind it in there. But they were thinking that I was going to feed them right now, but I'm not quite going to feed them. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, with the present, when you say about the present moment all the time and kind of like being in the moment and everything else like that, do you feel sometimes you can kind of like control how you feel?
in the present moment,
Yeah, yeah,
oh man, yeah, I yeah, and that's a really interesting question, and the piece of it that's interesting to me is the control piece.
yeah,
Because a couple weeks ago we talked about being the observer of our thoughts, and that was when you got the picture of that you were driving and you were seeing the signs, and those were your thoughts. I really like that so much. And that layer, be the observer, I also apply to my emotions. And so I'm actually a highly emotional person, and I would actually, another one of my labels is that I'm a highly sensitive. It's called a highly sensitive person, which means I'm really affected by things around me. Emotionally, I get really affected. So I react and have very strong emotional reactions. And when I because I have a tendency towards anxiety, when I feel anxiety, that can be sparked by different things quite
yeah,
easily.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So when you're
yeah,
talking about emotions, what I found, which is so interesting, and this is such a small shift, but it makes all the difference. So I'm going to share with you a super quick tip. Um, there's something that's just a little tweak in your brain. So what I found was, because I was so emotional and I would get upset very quickly and I would cry very quickly, um, that I would try to control that. I would try to stamp down my emotions and try, like, no, Emily, that's weird, or people are going to think you're weird, or like I would just try to control myself. Not even so much because I thought people would think I was weird, but because I was just trying to function during the day. So I would just like stuff down these different emotions I was feeling. I was having these really strong emotional reactions, but in order to feel like I could function and just do the things I needed to do during the day, I was pushing down and controlling my emotions and stomping them down. But what I found was that was one of the things that led to my breakdown, because my body just couldn't handle all of that pressure.
mm,
It was like fight or flight all the time. So it was like I was in a pressure cooker, and I kept putting the lid on, but the pressure kept getting turned up, and put the lid on, pressure turned up, and then every once in a while the lid would pop off,
mm.
and I would um, cry for a couple hours or for a day or whatever. So the thing that's so important is that emotions are meant to be felt. And I wasn't allowing myself to feel them. I would start to feel something, and then I would just put the lid on it. And so, what I do now in this be the moment process and in this be the moment space with my emotions is I actually allow to my emotion, and I look at it like I did, I walked you through the thoughts. So I look at each emotion as if it's a child that is wanting my attention. So, like me in the swimming pool with my mom saying, "Hey, mom, look at this. Hey, mom, watch that." I just wanted to be seen. I just wanted to be
Mm.
acknowledged. I just wanted to be validated. And so, that's how I look at each one of these emotions. It's like a child that just needs my attention for a minute. And so
Are you like that? Are
I just
you
let it
like
come
that
up.
today, Owen? Are you like that today, Ems? Do you like people? Do you like to be noticed today?
Yeah, I do. And I take that very seriously with other people too, because I really believe that we all have this need to be seen and validated. That's just one of our deep needs as humans, to be acknowledged, to be valued, to be validated, to be seen. And so I know that I need that. And some need it more than others. I know that I need that, and like my husband, like so say for example, I spent the whole day cleaning the house. He knows that if he get when he gets home that I'm gonna say, "Hey, I cleaned the house all day," and then he knows that I'm gonna take him through the whole house and tell him what I did. And this is just how it is. I mean, this is like 30 years of marriage. He just knows, okay, she's gonna show me that, she cleaned under the bed and whatever. And I just really believe that every human really needs that to a certain extent. And so what I try to do now that I know that is, like, for example, if on Clubhouse, which is an audio app, when we're talking in a room, like, I really tell people, you can speak for as long as you need to speak. We're going to give you the space. And my intention is that you are heard, that you are seen. And
Mm.
if when I'm with someone, like one on one or whatever, I try to remember, we as humans want to feel like we have value. And I believe that the main place that I get my value, and that each person gets their value, is from knowing our value ourselves. I
Mm.
do truly believe that that's where it starts. But then it also feels good, when someone else values you, what you have to say, who you are, what you have to offer, all those things. And
Yeah.
so it really does matter. And so, yeah, so these emotions, that's what I'm doing with my emotions when I'm allowing that space for them, is I'm allowing them to come up. And what's so interesting is I was sometimes afraid that I would get like so angry or so upset or so sad, that I sometimes felt like I would always be sad and it would never go away if I gave it the space. But what I found was, as I allowed the sadness to move through me, it didn't get worse. It slowly dissipated. It's like if you ever had a really good cry, you actually you feel better afterwards. You feel relief, in not always, but very often. It's cathartic. Like, you feel like, oh, that was rough. Or, like, say you have a good argument and then you come to some sort of resolution. You do feel better, like you have released this pressure. And so that's what I do now with my emotions, is I
I don't
allow
like
them a
arguments.
space.
So I don't like arguing with anybody. If I have an argument with my wife, my wife always wins, right? So I don't have an argument with my wife. and I do not like having arguments with anybody, because
I
I
don't
love
either.
I love to get on with everybody. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I do.
And,
I do.
can I just ask you a question, because um, I'm getting this all the time. Do you love yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I do. I have I had a very unique experience where I actually met my true self and had a conversation. Um, and in that moment, when it's really hard to explain, but in that moment when I heard this message said to me, I am your true self. I have been here the whole time. I am who you've been wanting to be. I'm who I, everything that you wanted, so how do I explain this? So what was happening for me was that I was always wanting to like be better. I was always hard on myself. So I was like, why did you do that? You're so dumb. Why did you, why did you do this? But that was part of the OCD and the negative thought patterns. And I know many, many, many of us have those.
Mm, mm,
And so I was asking for like help, like maybe not specifically to God, but sometimes I did feel like, God, please help me. Like I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I'm scared. I'm broken. And when I met my true self, I realized that everything that I had wanted to be, I was. I just didn't know it for whatever reasons, whether it was experiences that I had in my childhood that taught me a certain thing about myself, or things that people said about me or to me, or about how the world worked. All of the thoughts that I had about how who I was and how I fit into the world. You develop this, what I kind of feel like is like this avatar of Emily, or this avatar of Steve, which is based on your experiences, based on your thought patterns, based on what other people think of you. All these different things create who I think Emily is.
mm,
And this is me. Okay, this is, oh, I don't do that. Oh, like you say, okay, well, I'm this kind of a person. I don't do that thing. But then, oh yeah, I really have a weakness there. Like for me, I was like super emotional and I thought that was a bad thing. And I would get embarrassed easily, and I would be embarrassed about being embarrassed, and I like got my feelings hurt really easily, so I felt weak. um and I really cared what people thought about me, so then I thought that was bad, and that, um so all these different things made up who I thought Emily was. And when I met my true self, I realized that those were just the things that I thought, but the deep desires of what was really, really important to me and what really mattered, I already had all of those things, and I already came into this world with those things. I just never learned that I had those things, or I forgot
mm.
for whatever reason.
Do you ever get time for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually so interesting. That's a really, yeah. The reason why I like that question is because I my husband and I started dating when we were 16, and I got married right away. We got married when we were 20, and I moved from my parents' house into our house, and then we had kids right away. And the reason why I say all that is because I had never been by myself.
Mm.
Not really on purpose. It just sort of happened that way.
It's
And it
like
wasn't
yeah.
until, yeah, and it wasn't until I met my true self. This was about almost 10 years ago, and I felt this need to go away for the weekend. And I had never done that. I'd never gone anywhere by myself, really.
Mm.
Um, like out for dinner, to a movie, away for the weekend. And this was, I was busy raising kids and doing all the stuff. And so I was just always had people around me. And I felt like I needed to go away. And it was in this space by myself where I met my true self. And that was, like I said, 10 years ago. And ever since then, It's so interesting because now, when people say that they're going to go do something by themselves, I say I'm going to go do something with myself, because
Mm.
what I recognized was that I am my best friend. I am my advocate. I'm my number one cheerleader. And I would have never believed that before until I had that experience. And that's actually the reason why I'm doing everything that I'm doing, is because I truly believe that every single one of us has this true self, this beautiful, divine, full of potential, perfect, quote unquote, perfect being that we are. We just don't know it. We just
Do
don't
you
know it.
feel do you feel valued?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do. And that's, I go back to what I said before, was that I do love to be seen and acknowledged. That is important to me. And now I look at that as icing on the cake when other people acknowledge me,
Mm.
because I know my value.
Yeah.
I know my
Earlier,
value.
why I mentioned that for, because earlier you said about your husband when he comes home and you've
Yeah.
been cleaning all day, and you
Yeah.
get your husband to come around to you and say, right, is it cleaning of the bed, things like that. I
Right.
did this and did that. Is it because are you doing that because you want to be thanked and valued by him?
Yeah, I do. I think so. Yeah. I mean, I took the time to do it. It's important to me. I did it for myself, but then I also did it because it's our home and I want it to look nice for both of us. And it does. It feels good to be acknowledged, for sure. The thing it's so interesting, and it's such a subtle thing, and I'm glad that we're talking about it, is that I was actually looking at him for all of my value, since we were 16. And that put tremendous pressure on him, and it caused a lot of heartache. Um, and it caused a lot of, honestly, a lot of problems. And it put me into what I felt like was like a trapped, and I've talked about this as I shared with you over the weeks that we've talked together, this trapped, sort of helpless, almost like a victim place, because I felt like that if he didn't acknowledge different things about me, then they didn't matter. But what I found was I can acknowledge them and value them myself. And then if other people, or when other people acknowledge them or value them, that's extra. It's like an extra thing, like icing on the cake.
Mm.
Um, and so the pressure got I taken off of him. And I that really allowed us to have, because that wasn't fair. And one of my teachers actually teaches that if you need other people to feel and act and be a certain way for you to feel good, then that's actually not really a good space to be in. So I slowly started to learn that I make my environment, I make myself, I make things around me the way that I need them to be, to be happy and healthy. And what the cool thing that happens is it takes the pressure off of other people in my life. But then also, as I am more happy, and I've actually heard this a couple of days ago, that the best gift that you can give to someone that you love is that you love yourself and that you're happy.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can do. And I personally know that that is true, because when I was in my dark, dark space, that was so hard for my family. But now that I'm happier and taking care of myself and being with myself and giving myself value and acknowledging my own value myself, then that actually is a gift for the people around me. So it's
Yeah.
actually a really beautiful, it's a beautiful shift that's happened. And I'm starting to see how it really helps those around me. And if I have a bad day, I have a bad day. That's I'm not saying that we have to be perfect and happy all the time. And I'm
No,
not
we're
saying
not.
that at all. But if we can not rely on others and know that we can provide what we need in ourselves, then that can really shift. That can transform you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did I tell you the story about the crab?
No.
Right, okay. I'll tell you the stories about this crab. When I was younger, I was brought up in the fishing trade. My mum and my dad had this great big fish shop, and they used to get a lot of ladies in there and men doing all, killing all the crabs and getting all the meat out. And my dog died. My little dog died called Tiny. And my mum said to me for a joke, she said, "Oh, you just might as well just get a crab and get a piece of string and tie it around this thingy and take it for a walk." So I thought, oh, good idea. And I can't remember how old I was, about 5 or 6. And I took this crab for, tried to take this crab for a walk. But the trouble is, they don't walk like us, they walk sideways. Don't laugh, don't laugh. And what happened was,
I'm
I
picturing
tried,
it.
I tried to take it across the road, right? And a tour bus came along,
Oh.
and squashed my poor crab, right? So anyway, so I picked up all the pieces. Can you imagine it?
Oh.
Picked up all the pieces and buried it in my mum's garden, right? And I love that poor crab. That poor crab was called Percy, by the way.
Oh, you named him and everything.
Oh yeah, of
Oh.
course, yeah, it's called Percy, yeah. And and what happened was, anyway, one day I thought to myself, what are we going to do now? Oh, we get a cat. So anyway, the cat went in the back garden, dug a nose up, the claw of the crab, right? Brought the claw of the crab into the house. So anyway, a few days went by, and it was smelling. It was like the house was stinking. And we were all kind of like saying, "You got to change your socks, you got to change your shoes, or whatever." Someone's wearing smelly pants or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, my mum one day she was cleaning out, moving all the furniture and everything, and she said, "Oh, who put that there?" And it was a claw
Oh.
of the crab. And anyway, I just kind of like ran out and cried. But the story behind that was that that poor crab. I loved that poor crab when I was younger. And buried it, and gave it all the love I can and everything. And sometimes sometimes when we do love things like our partners or family and everything, and when things go wrong, we kind of usually put that aside because we're falling out with them. And what I've learned in the past is, you know, falling out with people is not the way to go, is it? Why
No.
would you fall out? Why would you fall out? Because it's just going to leave a nasty smell or nasty, kind of like relationship and everything. And I think now it's too late to kind of like argue or anything because life is too short, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so. I believe that when one of the ways that we suffer or feel suffering is if we have disconnection with other people.
Yeah, yeah,
And I believe that that's what unforgiveness is it why it's not good for us to be in a place of unforgiveness, um, and why it doesn't feel good and why it's not healthy is because it creates disconnection. And that doesn't mean that you need to be connected to every single person on the whole planet, but
Oh no, no, no.
but
It's
you
like,
do feel it does affect us. It does affect us as human beings having connection or disconnection, with ourselves, with the present moment, with other people, and with our source, whatever our source of love, our source of energy, um, that causes suffering.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love everybody. But the trouble is, sometimes it's so difficult to love, people
Yeah.
if they've actually hurt you, or. But
Yeah, that's a practice. It's very challenging. And actually, as I've been practicing this, I call it my practice of unconditional love. I'm I've been challenged for sure by certain people. Um, I'm definitely not really good at it yet. But what I am practicing right now and exploring is the idea of seeing someone and seeing their essence, seeing their true self, seeing their true nature, and acknowledging that, and knowing that they're doing their best, and I don't have to understand, I don't have to agree, I don't have to be okay with how they're treating me, I don't have to be okay with any of the things, but that I value them as a human being the way that I'm longing to be valued. I mean, and this is all what we've been talking about today, is just I'm doing my best to offer to others, even if I don't understand where they're coming from. Um, like, how would I want to be treated? You know, the golden rule: treat others as you want to be treated. So that's sort of my one of my underlying principles that I'm working.
Damn, she went off. Oops. Oh no. Yeah. 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 So everybody, so present moment. Um, so there is some stuff down there. Emily will be back in a minute. I think she just switched herself off. There you go.
I don't know what happened. That was so weird. It just my phone just stopped. It just went away.
Do not worry about it. Do not worry. Do not worry. So anyway, so if anybody's listening now, what tips can you give them to be in the present moment?
Just take a couple deep breaths. Um, that's really the first way to enter present moment. And, you know, honestly, it's just to even think of it. And the reason why present moment is so important and why it matters so much and why I'm teaching about it is because it actually is all that there is. When we're thinking about the future, it's actually not here. When we're thinking about the past, it's not here. The only place we ever are, our
It's in the present
bodies,
moment. Yeah.
our breath, when we think our thoughts, when we feel our feelings, when we take in information, our senses, smell, sight, taste, touch, it's all only here right now. And so if as we become more aware of it, more mindful of it, because I believe that mindfulness is present moment awareness, that's what how I define it, you're going to live a much fuller life because you are living life in this space of what's happening right now. You're not distracted by future thoughts that may or may not happen, or situations that may or may not happen, or things in the past that have happened. You're living fully right now when life is happening, and you're connected to it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So guys, so please, 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 if you feel kind of like, sometimes we kind of like look in the past and it sometimes it gets us down, and we've all been there. We're not perfect, but you know, you know, soon, we got sometimes we got to look at the future, see what's happening now, thinking about what's happening now, and what is happening at the moment for us. And also sometimes spend some time for yourself, and even if you have to get out the house or sit in the garden for about a few minutes, it does help sometimes. Or kind of like, if you're a woman, go tell your husband to give you some money and do some shopping therapy. Just to get away
Mm.
from the old man for around about 10 minutes or so. So whatever it is, we can all be in the present moment, and the present moment is now. I tell you what, I have learned really a lot from you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm very thankful for our conversations.
Yes, it's lovely. It's lovely. Anyway, thank you very much, Emily. I will talk to you a bit later. Actually, I will talk to you tomorrow.
Okay,
And
sounds great.
in the meantime, thank you so much, and thank you for watching.
Bye, everybody.